Good afternoon, J.Nicholson here, and day 2 of a 4 or 5 day lesson on the abolitionist movement and abolitionist leaders inside that movement, inside of a unit titled A New Spirit of Change, looking at the years from 1820 to 1860. You can see over on the right side of the board, I always like to have the main idea and why it matters. Now, for the students, the main idea inside of this lesson is that the spread of democracy led to calls for freedom for slaves and more rights for women, and why it matters now. The abolitionists and women reformers of this time inspired 20th century reformers. I also always have up there our California Standard. The students have those inside of their notebook, but 8.9.1 pretty much asks them to be able to describe the leaders of the movement, such as John Brown, Tubman, Mr. Weld, Lloyd Garrison, Frederick Douglass, etc. But inside of day 2 here, they are in the middle of a visual analysis gallery, walk, where they get to, basically meet, learn about, read about 8 different abolitionist leaders and how they all had different responses to ending slavery. In groups, they're going to examine these abolitionist leaders, and as historians, they have to look at the visuals on the placards. I'll show you those in just a second, and dive into the quotes and write how they think they attempted to abolish slavery, and I'm asking them to identify 2 pieces of evidence from the pictures and quotes that support their thinking. I mentioned it as a 4 or 5 day lesson. By day 5, what I'm ultimately going to be asking them to do with all of the primary and secondary sources we examine along the way is write a 5-paragraph essay, or a thesis with 3 supporting paragraphs in conclusion. And then the lesson student research questions really threefold for me. I want them to walk away and see how the realization, of the ideals of the Declaration of Independence is an ongoing process. I want to make sure that they understand that there are a variety of responses to injustices in society. And 3, that they're able to evaluate the very responses of abolitionists to, the social injustice of slavery. So here, let me unmount my camera and introduce you to the placards they'll be looking at in just a second. All right, just a few minutes before the students arrive, I wanted you to have a look at how the room and the stations are set up. So as soon as the students walk in, they see the 8 stations. Each station is numbered and has a placard waiting for them. When they're told, they will be flipping these placards over. At each station, they'll be introduced to a different abolitionist leader, and they will have to examine the primary and secondary sources that are thrown all over these placards, the quotes, the pictures, paintings, etc. And they're going to have to write how they think that each of these abolitionists tried to abolish slavery, and identify 2 pieces of evidence from the pictures or quotes that support their thinking. After that, they'll have to make some predictions, based on the images, quotes, and other information, predicting the amount of force, they think these leaders were willing to use to abolish slavery, and place in their names on a continuum, or a spectrum from 0% no response all the way up to 100% responding with violence. So they'll have about 4 or 5 minutes, hoping, in each station. If they finish early, I always tell them to just flip the card back over, so I know when we're not just sitting and wasting time. I'll ring the bell. They'll quietly get up and move to the next station, flip over the card, and be introduced to another abolitionist leader. And they will move table 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, all the way around. Make it to table 8, they'll move back to 1. All right, the bell just rang, so I'm going to run over and let the students in. Oh. Do you know how many feet like the outfit was? Gotcha. She was just telling me she hit another home run. Yeah, but my team was a baseball team. Look, my little man. Every game, I'm like, okay, hits his, or he said home runs in practice. Yeah. Pretty cool. Anyone else doing anything fun over the weekend? No. I'm ready for it after a week of testing. Seriously. What do you think of the science test? Too long. Too long. I was in a crazy week with all those 12 dismissals and everything else. And then I was looking at the calendar and seeing the grades we're doing at 14 days of school. 14 school days. You guys are off to high school. And actually, it's not even really 14 because tomorrow is the 13 days. So 13 days tomorrow is, I don't think we'll do today then. And then your last day, you don't really come until you show up for your foundation. Still a lot of work to do in here though. The last time we met, we're jumping into the lesson on the abolitionists and the abolitionist movement. What are these abolitionists trying to do? Abolish slavery. Yeah, there you go. But hopefully you'll be seeing after you jump to a few more stations, kind of like with the social injustices that in the scenarios that I gave you, in your homes and out on the street, did you all take the exact same action against those social injustices? No. So here, with every single abolitionist that you learn about, read about, you're going to be seeing that they took different routes to try to end this institution of slavery. Right? And I say, with each station, I'm only giving you about 4 or 5 minutes. I'll be ringing the bell over there, but I want you to jump up and switch to the next station. So the first thing you want to do, is look at all those primary and secondary sources that are spread all over these placards. And I say, you're trying to figure out, hey, how did this man or woman try to end this institution? And with all of the quotes or the articles, or the little covers that are on these placards, I say, you're acting like a detective. And how do detectives solve cases? What do they end up doing? Ask questions. Don't just start reading the quote. Source it first. What do I mean by sourcing? Someone raise their hand and tell me. Sourcing. If you're looking at a quote, what do you think? Yes? Yeah. But they see like who said this? Right? Is it the person? The driving in the placards, Harriet Tubman or Frederick Douglass, are they saying it themselves or is someone else saying it about them? Is it reliable? When was this? You can do that with the pictures and such. All right? Ask yourself a lot of questions. Do you have any questions for me before we get rolling? Good. I think you had about, what was it? We're just about finished at this station. Am I right? Yeah. Team, if you haven't already pulled out more packets, just hit a bell tape, make sure everything is good. I'll ring that bell and you'll quietly move on to the next station. Good. Remember, you're looking for 2 pieces of evidence from the pictures or quotes to support your thinking on, hey, how this person is living. Good. All right. Going in. Switch to the next station.
about 30 more seconds. Switch to the next station.
So this would be non-binding. Oh wait, no wait.
All right. Now that we have made it through all of the stations, for understanding real quick, boy, a lot to take in. You know, these aid stations and these abolitionists, these individuals. The first thing we had to answer on your sheet was, how do you think they tried to end slavery? Now, the first one I'm going to ask you to look at, this is the same placard I'm suggesting, is Mr. John Quincy Adams. The evidence is laid out in front of you here. What do you think? How did Mr. Adams try to end slavery? What do you think? There is a petition on that sheet, on that placard, definitely. You can see it right behind his picture here. Remember, one of your First Amendment rights, the right to petition. And this is a petition to what? Abolish slavery. You see that heading right up there. You check out that photograph? What is that a photograph of? Or a picture of?
1864.
Pardon me? The U.S. Capitol. And what branch of government, keep raising their hands, works inside of that building?
The legislature.
The legislative branch. What's their main job?
To write and make laws.
To make laws, right? So you think that petition was maybe sent to him?
Yes.
Yeah, urging him to do just that. But if you read that quote, up at the top, that was exactly, what he was doing. He was listening to, his constituents, his people. And he tried to make an amendment as a congressman from Massachusetts, to where, after July 1842, anyone born in this country would not be a slave anymore. Unfortunately, the others in Congress didn't want to hear it. They put a gag order on it. But yet he was a congressman. Even before that, you can see up here, he was our 6th president. I don't remember his dad, John Adams, who worked alongside Thomas Jefferson, right in that Declaration of Independence. So yeah, he was trying to make an amendment to make or abolish slavery. Love it. How about Miss Tubman? Miss Tubman. 3 or 4 different paintings, pictures, photographs, sort of little sign there, and a quote from her. What was she trying to do? How was she trying to abolish slavery?
Her government helped slaves escape to the Underground Railroad.
Oh, so she was trying to, help slaves make it free. How did you come to that conclusion? You are correct. From this
Well,
evidence.
In her quote, she talks about tracks and stuff.
Yeah, I never ran my train off the track, right? Never lost a passenger. Passengers being
Slaves.
those that she was helping escape. Like, who is that a reward for there? Not her, an escaped slave, right? And it was perfect. We know the Underground Railroad was not the real railroad. Just perfect code word, because at this time, right here, railroad tracks were being built, spread across the United States like crazy. So she'd be known as like a conductor, where they would hide out during the day, and it would be like a station. Tracks would be the routes and trails they were taking to head north. Pretty incredible woman. We'll be reading more about her tomorrow. One more here. Theodore Weld, interesting man. Probably one of the more difficult ones to figure out. What did he use to try to abolish slavery? Oh, I see a lot of hands going up here. Yes? Religion. Religion. How did you come to that conclusion that he used religion?
Speaks of the Eighth Commandment.
Yeah, I heard a few of you saying, oh, Bill of Rights. No, that's amendments, not commandments. But here he's talking about commandments. So coming from the Bible, right? Thou shalt not steal, what doesn't belong to you. He's saying slavery takes everything. He said this where? Not
Bible is true.
something he wrote the Bible against slavery. So yeah, he was a pastor using religion to convince people that, hey, what you're doing is wrong. And you can see in this picture, I saw a couple of you catching it. That is a painting of him there to the left and a photograph of him to the right, surrounded by a lot of other people. But it's not blurred out at the bottom. Did anyone catch what that is at the bottom? Friends.
Cotton.
It's cotton. And so, being a historical detective, going all the way back to the beginning of the school, you're like, where's cotton from?
The South.
In the South, right? And so he's going right down in the South, down to these plantations. Speaking of these people, saying, hey, you're not bad people, you're just doing bad things. You want to make it to heaven? You're going to church every day, but here, you're breaking the commandments, left and right. We need to set these people free. Right? We need to set them free. Take a look. Oh. Not a scary looking man, huh?
Yeah.
Mr. Graham. What do you think? How did he try to abolish slavery? Destiny. Okay, you say he used violence, certainly. Pretty scary painting up the top. We were talking about like specific things. Different ways you could be violent. What did he specifically do?
He armed slaves and killed slave owners.
That's what he was wanting to do, right? Where did you get that information from on this placard?
From the intelligence report.
Yeah, if you look at this intelligence report, there's a lot on it.